Looking for something to read? Well, these are the books that I've written. Hop on down to the description to find the Amazon links for all 4 of them, and keep your eyes open for more in the future. With that said, on to the video. Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am the Omni viewer, and even though Ultraman Blazar was not designed to be a toy commercial, that doesn't mean that toys and collectibles aren't still part of the equation, or that Bandai doesn't know how to sell them. In particular, the series has become the testing ground for what they're calling the Ultra Monster Advance series. But what makes Ultra Monster Advance different from regular Ultra Monsters? Well, there's only one way to find out, by way of comparison. So here we have Gedos, the kaiju who was a fan favorite before the series even aired. He represents the standard Ultra Monster series toys. And as you can see, if you're familiar with the line, you know what to expect. There are 3 points of articulation. You can move his arms all the way around, and oh, I guess you can't twist him at the waist. Normally they can, and there's a seam there, but he's pretty solid, so I guess there's only 2 points of articulation here. Although, this being Gedos, he does come with a little something extra. This little angler piece does extend out that far, which is a nice little touch, I suppose. They didn't have to do that, but they did. Anyway, the other notable thing about these figures is that they are small. Very, very small compared to your standard Bandai Movie Monster figures. Like this G2K version of Godzilla. Technically Bandai USA, but it's still within that size range. Just look at the size difference here. In fact, the Movie Monster series has actually gotten even smaller than it used to be. This Ultra 7 is an example of how they started in the size range. Note how much taller he is, when normally he would probably be around the same size. And of course, older examples like Ultra 7 or Gamora here, they are a little bit bigger, and if you look for the original numbered versions, they are in that size range. These days, though, Ultra Monsters in the series tend to be much smaller than they used to be. And Gedos, unfortunately, is part of that, which is a huge irritation for someone who wants their monster figures to actually all look properly scaled. But otherwise, I mean, this is pretty much the standard for what the Movie Monster series looks like. It's not bad. I wouldn't say this is a terrible figure, but it's definitely tiny and lacking in articulation, and, you know, there is a sense that there could be more to it. So what does more look like? Let's see what the Ultra Monster Advance figure has to offer. So I went with Nijikagachi from the series' first 2-parter episode, and there's a reason for that, but we'll get to it in a moment. Now, as you saw at the beginning, he comes in a box, and this is how he comes, with his tail detached. The tail is completely hollow, by the way. You can't really see all the way to the end, but you almost can. But not that it matters. As you can see, the tail should be easy enough to attach. Yep, went on pretty easily. So, what makes Movie Monster Advanced different from the regular Movie Monster series? Well, first of all, as you can see, there's the size difference. Look at how much bigger overall Nijikagachi is than Gedos. Even with this thing fully extended, he wouldn't be as long, and he's definitely not as tall. This is a completely different scale right here. There's also a slightly different level of detail. Part of Nijikagachi's whole thing is that he is the rainbow serpent. And as you can see, they have those metallic colored highlights across his body. It's not necessarily all over the place, because again, most of him is covered in bone armor, and he's not like hyper detailed like X Plus or something, but there is a bit more to him than just the basic paint job. Then of course we have articulation. The arms and legs and tail can all move, which again, you look at Gedos, only his arms can move, and other figures can twist at the hip if they're designed that way, but he can't. Nijikagachi doesn't have a hip joint, but that's okay. And the rotation is a little bit different, as you can see. It's not just up and down, their arms are in the body so that they sort of go out to the side like that. And the legs, you know, standard, tail can rotate. Another factor in the Monster Advanced line is they have some slightly extra features. You remember how in the episode this ceratopsian skull shield can split and lift up to reveal Nijikagachi's face? Voila! And as you can see, they did the interior. His head looks nicely detailed. It can't turn, but that's fine because these move. And when we get to the tail, that little blade can extend out. It's a minor thing. The fact that he has these details at all is actually pretty impressive, because in the past, they wouldn't have even bothered. Had Nijikagachi been released in another time, there would have been two different figures made of him. One with the shield closed and the blade retracted, the other with the shield open and the blade extended, assuming they even bothered with this part. But the fact that they have it being a feature here, that's a nice little detail. And of course, because he's much bigger, he looks good alongside the bigger Movie Monster series or Playmates Toho series figures. Even the older class of Ultra Monsters, like Sibozu and Monzagar here. As you can see, there is... They didn't always make them like this. These newer things in the Ultra Monster line, I believe these started with the Spark dolls, but they've just become the standard ever since. Movie Monster Advance is really more of a return to form than it is something new. However, I did say I got Nijikagachi for a reason, and that reason brings us back to Earth Garon. You may recall in my initial review of this Earth Garon DX figure how I noted that the back seemed ready to accept certain upgrades, which debuted in the Nijikagachi two-parter. Earth Garon in the show is now Earth Garon Mod 2. And part of the selling point for Nijikagachi is that the Mod 2 pieces come with him. Well played, Bandai. Well played. So let's get these out of here and see how they attach. So as you can see, there are three pieces. There's the back portion, which is the actual proper mount on which these go. There's the multi-laser that goes over this shoulder, and the railgun, which goes over this shoulder. Before I attach them, let's get a look at them. Not bad. It looks like most of the detail is on the outside-facing portion, so like when they're mounted over his shoulder, the sides that are facing his head aren't detailed as much, but that's fine. And this is, whoa, this is just a solid color. Not quite the same color as Earth Garon's navy blue, but that's fine. Anyway, there are no instructions for how to attach this, but it seems pretty self-evident. These portions are supposed to fit in here, so they go on. Well, I wasn't expecting that. As you may recall, he lights up. So, Then this one goes here. This one goes here. And there you have it. They can adjust. Well, this one can adjust. Can this one? Yes. They can point up. They can't turn from the... No, it doesn't feel like they can rotate to the sides, but they're supposed to face forward anyway. And there you have it. Earth Garon Mod 2. Not bad. The Kiryu resemblance is now complete. And, yeah. He looks a bit more ready with this. And, of course, this helps to cover up the screw hole on the side of his neck. At least as long as it's facing that way. When it's up, you can see it, but, oh, apparently they can rotate that way as well. So there's a bit more articulation to him, at least to that one. But anyway, that's that. Well, there you have it. That is the difference between Ultra Monster Advance and Standard Ultra Monster. And of course, Earth Garon here gets his much needed upgrade. And, well, I guess that's the long and the short of it. I'm definitely liking the way Nijikagachi turned out, so if I get a chance, I would also like to get Bazanga and Teganular. But for now, this is good enough. What am I saying? I'm a collector. It's never good enough. That's the curse of being a collector. But all the same, I'm quite satisfied with how this new figure turned out. This one, wish he was bigger, but what can you do? Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off. Thank you all for watching. If you want to see us keep doing what we're doing, you might consider doing all the usual YouTube things, as well as hopping down to the description to find links to DeviantArt, Patreon, Twitter, and links for the different books in the Tales from the Omni Vault universe. Your support is naturally appreciated. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.